we're here with Zach Osborne, outdoors national champion. You've done the first 2 rounds now, Houston 1 and Houston 2. Do you want to break it down for us? How have those 2 races gone for you so far?
Houston 1 was pretty rough. I had a big crash on the press day due to something that wasn't really my fault. And then I was left pretty sore, banged up my knee a little bit. And then I had a decent day. It just took me a while to kind of ride into my form again. And then in the heat race, I got a good start and was able to win that. So that was a nice bit of positive to move forward on. And then in the main, I fell over in the first turn, and I came all the way back to 10th, which was a good ride, and I felt quite good about it, but it was just a bummer to have that after the heat race win. And then Houston 2, I felt super good all day, really good speed, busted that big quad out in the second practice, which was massive. And then the night show, I felt good. Heat race, I was kind of pacing Barsha there for a bit, and kind of felt like I should have made the pass somewhere, but just couldn't quite set it up. It was quite hard for passing. And then in the main, got like a 5th or 6th place start, worked my way up to 2nd, caught Tomac a bit there in the middle of the race, and just blew it with 2 laps to go. Just tucked the front in a corner for no apparent reason.
Was that lack of
really
concentration, or was it just because you were just, I don't know, a bit too relaxed?
No, I had a bit of arm pump, to be honest, and just kind of chicken winged it over the rut, and that was that. Down we went.
Yeah, how's that going? Yeah. So just because you just dropped that in there, that's how we actually got speaking quite a lot, wasn't it? Because of the MX Dad videos.
They're so funny.
You're liking a bit of the MX Dad video. So, I mean, how does that feel? I was just, obviously looking at the points. By the way, I had you down to win this weekend. I don't,
Oh, it should have been.
Yeah, definitely. And like, how, when you look at the points and you kind of go, when you're going the speed that you're going, and you look good, you look confident, you look like it doesn't look like you're not doing anything wrong, and then all of a sudden you look and you go, I'm 10th. Like,
yeah,
that's
and like I would have been, had I gotten to a Mac, I would have been in the points lead, and had I stayed 2nd, I would have been, I think, 2nd or 3rd, maybe 3 points out of the lead. So it's a massive bummer. Now I'm 14 points down, which is not that massive. It's just it's going to take some time to overcome. But like we saw, from Houston 1 to Houston 2, the podium's going to change a lot. I mean, eventually some guys will solidify themselves as the guys, but with the way the tracks are right now, we have a lot of small stadiums. It probably doesn't make sense to those who don't watch Supercross that much, but the East Coast stadiums are really small. They're football stadiums compared to the West Coast stadiums, which are baseball. Baseball is a much larger floor and field, and you get those more like triangle or diamond shaped tracks as a baseball field is. But then when we go to the East Coast tracks, the dirt's more grippy because of the climate. The floors are kind of rectangle or square. And just much smaller. They have a much smaller field. So, there's not a lot of passing. We're all going so fast. I think in the time practice, there was like 1 second between 1st and 14th, which is nothing. I mean, that's literally like 1 foot dab in a corner, So it's going to be so much about the start. You can't just carve through this field like you have been able to in the past,
a lot of guys
like
have
I
been
said,
saying that. Like a lot of guys have been on about the track being very basic, is the term that they're using.
It is and it isn't. I mean, with the kind of grip that we have here in Houston, and the power of the bikes and the technology that we have, like you can jump anything. Like that quad on the second track was massive. Like that's the biggest jump I've ever jumped in a rhythm section by far. It was huge, and it was easy. I mean, second gear just kind of wide open and no big deal, So and also the quad in the middle lane at the first Houston was huge too. It's a 3-footer. Typically, if we quad over a tabletop, it's a 3-foot takeoff to a 3-foot landing, and that was a 3-foot takeoff to a 5-foot landing, which is big. I mean, there's big consequences, but everyone was doing it. Like, so I I do hear a lot of complaints and knocks on the tracks. What do they do? What more do you want?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, and I suppose it's easy, and also as well, it's easy commenting on the tracks from where I'm sitting. But for me, the racing's been good, and obviously the racing's so good because of the competition. Like you said, so the good thing about it is that it can switch so quick because the field is so stacked. So
Right.
that's a massive positive, eh? Like and let's be honest, like you're known to fight back, not blowing smoke at your ear. But if you look at how you took the 250 title, I suppose, poor old Joey, you pretty much chicken winged him in that turn, didn't you?
Yeah.
So
I did.
you can when you look. Do you ever? That's what I was going to say. Like when you're now, and you obviously that you've got speed, so that's good. Yeah. Do you ever hype yourself up for the races? Do you ever look back at that old footage of races of yourself and kind of, what's the deal? Do you do any of that? Do you kind of step back a little bit, or
Yeah, I watch a lot of old races. Probably more than most, I would say. I mean, we have indoor cardio pretty much every single day, so during that, I'm always watching old races. I watched bar to bar, '07, '09, um, '07, '08, '09, both 250s from '08. I watched so many races this off season. I don't really watch that many of my races. I have seen that Vegas race about 300 times now because it's just one of those moments I don't ever want to forget. Like it was such a massive thing for my career and um, just my life in general. Like it was crazy, So and I've seen a couple of my good 450 rides. One of them that I watch often is the New York race from 2019, which was my first 450 podium, but I threw away an easy win there for me on that particular night. But yeah, it's I do watch a lot of old footage, not so much me, but a lot of old races in general.
Speaking of that, with the old footage and going back, obviously, you've been here in the UK and you've stayed, you stayed with the Pococks and you've rode with a lot of British teams. One of the questions that I got asked was, what's your favourite track kind of in the UK, to ride? I think I know this.
I always got on well at Fox Hill
Yeah,
just because it was, kind of jumpy but it was also really hard packed, which was never really my forte prior to going to England.
yeah,
Um, we used to go to this track, Ashdown Woods.
yeah,
I don't know if you've been there.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
that
yeah.
like
I know.
mega hilly track.
Yeah,
That seriously, when you catch that place, even when it's muddy, it was sick. Like as long as it wasn't dry, it was awesome. But I like legit miss riding there. Like it was so much fun, and that wood section was always just like I felt like I was in a bobsled. It's just like berms off the walls and stuff. It was so much fun. And then obviously Matterley is just the pinnacle of tracks in the world, in my opinion. So
yeah.
that was always I've only ridden there
The standards high there. Mind
the
you, you rode
once.
there you rode well. You and at the Nations that was pretty bad that year,
The
wasn't
Nation. That's the only time I've ever raced. No, I rode it in 12. I got on the podium there in 2012. But
it?
man, it's just unreal.
Yeah. What so obviously I've met when you're sitting down in the camp, and I've actually been at Alden's, at the factory. So when you're sitting there and you're looking out at all
Oh
the
yeah,
tracks,
you're big man.
yeah, of course. So when you're sitting there and you're looking out, I mean, do you ever think to yourself, like, where did I go wrong? Like, I could be in the UK. Like, what did I deserve to be here? What what happened? you know.
Yeah, I mean, of course I do.
Yeah, of course.
No, honestly though, like it's an amazing place, and like all things, there's always positives and negatives to everything. But I do miss a bit of England every now and then, just the driving and the banner that we used to have, and just it was a different time in my life, and um, obviously the place I'm at now is a little bit different as far as everything. My life, my training, my riding, all that stuff is a bit more serious, and it's not that I wasn't serious when I was in England. I was always serious and I always took it very seriously. But um,
You're
it
at
was
that
just a
level
different
now.
time and place, and yeah, and also like England, there's no way that I could carry out the program that I'm on now in England or even in Belgium. I don't think that there's
The
weather
tracks are
or place
shrinking.
for it.
Yeah, and the options, and then we're running out of options. I feel like a little bit, and that's.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Is that kind of happening in the States? But from what I can gather, is it looks like a few of the tracks are kind of getting lost for whatever reason, and I kind of there's tracks that pop up, and I see that people or track owners kind of moaning about each other because there'll be too many and they're not getting enough custom, and then they can't make it work. But that's just rumor mill, really. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think we're losing that many tracks here. I mean, there's always going to be problems with neighbors or this or that, but it seems when one dies, another one pops up. We're not losing any of the iconic tracks like, the known outdoor tracks or whatever anymore. So
that's pretty cool, isn't it? So you're still the place to be. It seems
yeah,
still the place to be. And that was one. You mean when you touched on your training and stuff, and obviously hitting another level. I do often think when you look back, you kind of think, right, okay, where you was and where you've got to, and the work that obviously that takes. That could possibly be the same for any of the other riders, maybe that you was kind of with at that time. If they was to put in the work, because that's what you've done, right? You've upped the workload.
yes and no. I mean, there was a time like the winter of 08 going into 09, the workload that Mel and I did was absolutely insane. Like, looking back, it was way too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was way too much, So there's been times where my workload was way higher than it is now. But I think the biggest thing for me right now is like that the riding that we do is basically main event riding, 4 days a week during our camp, and then 2 and 3 days a week during the season. That's the biggest thing. I'm riding with and against the two of the best guys in the world, and we kind of feed off of each other, and that's what makes it so good right now. But yeah, back to kind of the question, which was,
the workload.
It could have worked that way for.
I think that the point that I wanted to do, without obviously I'm not taking anything away from anybody or even yourself, because obviously you have to have a lot of talent, and there's so many different elements that have all got to work, haven't they, for this for the
yeah
for
and that's what I was going to say. Like it could have worked out for anyone, but like there's so many things that have to go a certain way, and it's just kind of destiny, I guess you would say.
I just got what I was trying to go with was, if you're there and you're kind of you're pushing on, and the guys are there. I was kind of thinking, look, if you look where you let's say in Britain and racing the GP scene, yeah, then all of a sudden, we all know that when you go over to America and you succeed in America, that the pay packet's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot better. It's going to, so when the guys are kind of racing with you, they really should be kind of like focusing on that and going, right, okay, look, okay, what did he do? Can I do that? And just kind of progress. I know that obviously, you've got a huge, should I say, riding in the States, because obviously you're American, and and obviously from the Supercross background, and so on. So and you're also, I think, did you lead the first national when you went in as a pro? I think you did. Did you lead a couple of laps and then drop back? Was that?
Not the first one, but one of the first ones. Yeah, I think like the third or fourth one. Yeah, that was the big fade.
Yeah. So I mean, the easiest thing for me to do is go, look, what would your advice be to for people coming up, in motocross, a supercross? What advice would you hand to them? And that was why I asked that question, really, just to try and to get a bit of an understanding, and maybe something that people could take from this video and go, okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for me is passion. I'd kind of lost the passion for the sport before I came there to England, and I landed on the team with Steve, and found the passion again pretty quick, because it was just so different to what I had experienced as a professional here in the States.
Yeah.
With Mikey and Zane and Ben and Jordan and Steve and just everybody on the team, Nico, that was just so passionate about what they were doing. They weren't really doing it for money. Like, yeah, they were making a living, but they were having the time of their life. Like, they were
Steve's got
like
some
so
passion.
appreciative. Yeah, they were so appreciative of the situation. Whereas here, it's just like such a grind. You fly, you do the autograph signing. I wasn't ready for any of that at the time. And when I went there and I was surrounded by those people that kind of could build me up, that was when things really started to change for me. And even when I came back to the States, I was a little disappointed in the beginning because, when Steve and Ben and I did the Supercross, it was so low key and so much fun. Like, we had a blast. We were racing out of my van and it was no big deal. And then as soon as I went to the big team, I was kind of experiencing the same thing again. And that really kind of put me back again 2 steps. So the biggest thing I would say is just finding people that you can feed off of and build you up and put you in a place where you want to go racing, and you do it with a smile on your face, and it's not really a job as much as it can get to be.
Yeah, good advice. So basically, it's the team as well as yourself, isn't it? Get everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then I just want to just hit you with a few questions, if that's okay, Zach. And if you got, I mean, first of all, thanks for taking the time to speak. To speak to us. That's really appreciated. By the way,
No
you're
time
looking a bit.
restraints on mine, mate.
Yeah, well, and then also as well, I'd like to do this again. If you have that win, then it'd be nice
Yeah.
to back it up. But just
Hopefully Saturday.
yeah. Fingers crossed. I'll pick you as a winner again, definitely. But I mean, what I was going to just quickly ask is, do you have any intentions of riding back in the UK? I know I've spoken to you about this, and I know that there was one particular race that you have been to watch and you was thinking about doing. But I mean, obviously, if the world wasn't so crazy at the moment, what?
Yeah, I would love to come back. I mean, even what we'd spoken about is obviously Farley. I want to build my own bike and do Farley.
Yeah.
That's something that is really close to my heart. My mechanic Dave, he loves old bikes. He has tons of old bikes, and we went there together when we were over for the Nations, and we were both like, man, we got to come here and like do this one day. So I hope that Dave and I can do that someday, in the next 3 or 4 years, and then uh, I would love to just come back and race a British Championship um, or any race really. Like, I don't know if they even still do the Ken Hall, but that would be really cool for me. Like,
Uh,
that's super local.
Yeah,
No,
no, they don't anymore. But yeah, I
that
remember because I
sucks.
tested your bike there, didn't I? At Kenol one
Yeah,
time as well. It was pretty cool. But you can, if you, I don't know if you're any good on a two-stroke, but if you can ride one of them, then obviously, I'll let you come and do my race. Just
is that the old bikes,
yeah. Well, no, you can ride a modern bike. You can ride a modern two-stroke.
vintage ones?
Yeah, you can do Evo, you can do Evo or Super Evo. 125 or 250. But I mean, just leading on to this now, Nick, because I know that you get our sarcasm and banter. But you better be prepared that you might get beaten by an Ocon. Because that
The
happened with.
last time I did a two-stroke race, I got absolutely worked, and that was actually the last time I rode a two-stroke. I think it
Yeah.
was at Glen Helen for the two-stroke world championship, and um, it was a weekend off for Supercross, and I got absolutely smoked. I think I got fourth in the first moto, second in the second moto, and my arms were so bad, like so bad, that I got arm pump surgery the next week. Like, that was the tipping point. Like, I was kind of undecided if I wanted to do it, and then after that, I was like, no, I'm going. I was on the plane on Monday morning.
So you weren't smiling underneath your crash helmet from that race then, like riding the bike, no.
No, it was not happy, not good. That's why I hate two strokes.
Well,
I
that's a
don't
good.
really
I know.
hate two strokes.
I know you don't hate two strokes. We've had this conversation. That's why I'm kind of like, yeah, kind of laughing. But yeah, yeah. So I mean, if you was coming back to do them, then that would be pretty cool. And then the next thing, how old are you now, Zach? How old are you?
31.
31. So I suppose when you
31.
look at the podium the weekend, it's like, Zach, you must think, I've still got plenty of game left in me if Brayton's just took a third.
Yeah, I do. I think I have a couple more good years where I can win. I mean, and be competitive. I don't want to go racing unless I feel like I can, be at the front. So when that day comes, I'm sure that, I'll hang it up. But I think for now, as long as I have health and everything, I think I'll keep racing.
You're going to be like Mike Brown. You're going to be like riding until you're like you know, because I know you do. You just love racing, don't you?
I do. I love racing, and it's quite funny because I grew up around Brownie. He rode my place like basically his whole career, and I remember him being there on like the Cat Honda riding, training and
Yeah.
stuff. And I just grew up wanting to be like Brownie, and it's crazy how parallel our careers have been. With him racing in Europe, me racing in Europe, coming back, all this stuff. Like it's pretty crazy.
He rips around Farley, by the way. So.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it.
Yeah, he definitely rips around there. So he could be like, he could be taking away that outdoor national championship from you right there. No, but
He might do it.
But yeah, okay. Look, I'm gonna let you go now, and then. But thanks for taking the time, and I really do hope that you have a good weekend, and you just hopefully everything works in your favour, because it seems that these things have just been taken out of your hands. These silly little slips at the moment.
Yeah, the one this weekend was all on me, but the first deal was not quite me. So I think I can get it turned around for Saturday and put it on the box.
Yeah, start's obviously key, eh? That's the priority.
Yeah, for sure.
Got to get on it. Okay, thanks for taking the time then. But
no problem. Thank you. Anytime.